Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. If this is your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning supporter, I'm here to give you the disclaimers for this here live. Listen, I do not tolerate disrespect. That's in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it's towards me, towards anyone that appears on the screen, towards anyone that appears in the chat. If you have not decided to be a better person, most people will tell you to leave, but I'm going to tell you to stick around because maybe something that is said today will encourage you to do so. Now, I am not a mental health professional. I am just one woman willing to share my personal experiences to let you know two things. One, you are not alone, regardless of how much you feel like you are alone, how many times you have felt that, you are not alone. And number two, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. There will be curse words, there will possibly be tears, but knowing me, it probably will be. And my opinions are my opinions. Your opinions are your opinions. We are here to have a nurturing conversations in regards to our opinions so that we will have a better understanding of each other. That's all I got for right now. I hope that you enjoy this nurturing conversation. Let's get to it. Wait. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button that helps me say suggested on YouTube. Make sure that you type in the chat, also leave a comment, and share it with your friends. That's all I got. Let's get into this conversation. I love you. Peace.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you? I hope that you are having a wonderfully amazing Sunday evening. I know some of you are watching the Super Bowl right now. Or wait, is it the halftime? Anyways, welcome Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. I appreciate you for joining me. Tonight we're going to be talking about families. Tonight's conversation is about families. Family ties, navigating trauma, boundaries, and the healing with love. And healing with love. I said, and the. um, okay, I was waiting until you guys came back. We're going to start by addressing the fact that families have traumas. Um, whether you are rich, poor, middle class, upper class, whatever class you are in, we all have some experienced some kind of trauma in our lives. And I know people don't like to say that it's trauma, but some part of our life have affected us in a way, whether it be positive or negative. We are definitely affected by it. Um, whether that's growing up in a two-parent household, a one-parent household, growing up with your grandparents or no parents at all, foster care, any one of those things can have a tremendous impact. Tremendous impact. I grew up in a one-parent household. Um, my mom, but I grew up in a one parent household, but I was surrounded by like my immediate family. So, like my grandmother and my uncles and my auntie. So we were like, my family was pretty close. Pretty close. We were pretty close. But I didn't have the luxury of growing up with my father. It wasn't until like the last 6 years of my father's life that I actually got to spend time with him. So for me, I grew up in a loving family. I grew up in a loving family. However, um, environments in which I grew up in caused traumas to my life. And I wasn't really able to process them um, until like my 30s. I'm 43 now, so that was like fairly recent. Um, but I wasn't really able to process or understand how um, my upbringing had affected my life. Uh, I had I remember going to therapy and just you know talking about my childhood, and it wasn't until at therapy that my therapist asked me a question, and I literally pondered on the question for so long, and then I thought about it. It was like, oh my god, I don't have anymore. I had this thing when it came to rejection, right? Because um, I felt that my parents had rejected me, right? I felt like I didn't get the love that I was supposed to get. You know, like the love you see um, on television. Well, not so much as now anymore. But I didn't feel like I was loved by my parents. My father, he wasn't there, so that was like he didn't love me. You know, I think we all have those moments where we like my father left because of me, or I did something to make this person leave or not want me. And so I felt abandoned by my father. And although I lived with my mother, I still felt abandoned by her because I didn't feel like I had a deep relationship with her. I felt like she's my mother, I'm her daughter. That's just what it was. It wasn't like we're bonding or spending time or any of those things. So I felt rejected. And then I had declared when I was younger, like, I don't want to feel rejected. So if you ever been rejected or if you ever like didn't feel loved, you find yourself doing things so that people could like, hello, thanks for joining me. You find yourself doing things so that people, you can gain people's love and affection. And so I would like make sure that I was like the best student. I would do everything because I didn't want people to be mad at me or like mistreat me, right? So as I'm going to therapy, I'm realizing she's like you are accustomed to people pleasing, and I was like, no, I don't. No, I come. I was the only girl and the oldest child for like ever, like my grandmother's oldest. So I was, well, I'm saying forever, but it was like, hmm, a year because me and my brother are like a couple of months apart. But it was like a year. It seemed like forever to me because I mean, no one else was there but me. So I was pretty much spoiled. Oh, I can't believe I'm admitting that out loud. But I was pretty much spoiled. I pretty much had everything I could have ever wanted, thought about, dreamed, hoped for. Um, and so as I began to think about what my therapist was saying, and I realized like I stayed in friendships, I stayed in relationships, I was doing all kinds of things just because I wanted to feel that feeling. And so then 4 years ago now, I decided to go on a journey of healing and self discovery. Um, while my childhood was pretty amazing, I laugh now. It's wasn't funny then, but I laugh now because I said I grew up privileged. I'm not well. I'm not exponentially wealthy. I mean, I am able to maintain my bills or whatever, but I grew up in an environment where there was love and there was support and encouragement. Like I said, I had anything I could ever possibly want, dreamed, hoped, or desire. And so when I started meeting other people and talking to other people, like when I was growing up, I was like, oh, if you got your mama and your daddy at home, man, your life is sweet. You got two parents. If your mama can't come to your game, your daddy can come. If your daddy can't come, your mama can come. I was like, I was, that's what I thought. So then I started talking to other people and I realized, like, oh my God, you're just like me. And you have two parents in your household. I began to understand that a lot of the things that I was doing in my life was to cope with the fact that I felt abandoned, the fact that I felt rejected. So I began to inquire as to how do I stop that? Like, I don't want to continue to give my last to people that disrespect me or treat me bad. Or I don't want to continue to like just seek that affection from other people. And so, on the journey of healing and self discovery, I literally had to go back to those moments, back to the first moment actually that I felt abandoned or rejected by my parents. And so, um, as an adult, I went and I had a conversation with my parents, and it was I should have gave the disclaimer. I think I did give the disclaimer and disclaimer that there may be tears. Um, all of this is still relevant for me. So I went and I spoke with my mom first. And I just, talked to her and told her what I felt and what I thought. Therapy was helping me, communicate my feelings. So we talked and I just like listened. I listened and I put aside my feelings and I just listened. And then I began to understand my mother. I began to understand where she was when she had me. I began to understand the things that were going on in her life when she had me. And then I was just like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Like, I don't know if like we as children think about the things that our parents went through. But when I like talking to my mom and I completely understood that, and I was like, holy sugar, honey, iced tea. You actually went through, we got some of the similar stories, which is crazy to me. But wow, I probably never would have known that had I not come to talk to you. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God, it just caused me to look at it differently. She didn't reject me. She didn't abandon me. Some things she just didn't understand how to do. And that's not to give a passes or anything, but sometimes people just don't understand. I was expressing to my brother, I said, sometimes people don't have your capacity. Maybe you have a big heart and you have a capacity to love people regardless of what they do to you. Not everybody has that capacity. Not everybody is given that capacity. So I'm talking to my mom and I'm like, holy shoot, sugar on the iced tea. So then I go and I talk to my dad. Now, when I talk to my dad, um, I used to be so envious of girls that used to, can hang out with their dad and go shopping and he's buying them flowers and daddy daughter dances and all of that stuff, right? I used to be so envious. And then I'm talking to my father and I'm just like, hey, so this is what I felt like. You wasn't there. You didn't protect me in certain situations. I'm laying it on thick, right? I didn't lay it on as thick as with my mom because she was there all the time. We just didn't have that bond. But I laid it on thick with him. Like I wanted him to feel me. I wanted him to feel me. And so as he began to talk, again, I set aside my feelings and I just listened to him. And so he said, I hear you. I hear you. And he said, well, let me tell you about me. And so he started to talk to me about him and how his upbringing, the things that he endured. And then he said, 2 years before you were born, you had a sister. Now I knew I had a sister, but I didn't know the story that he was about to tell me. So he's like, 2 years before you were born, you had a sister. She passed away. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, one of the carbons. And he said, no one taught me how to deal with grief. I didn't know how to deal with grief. I didn't know what to do at that time. So he said, I just did what I knew to do. And he said, that was, the streets. And I was just like, wow. All that time I was hurting, I was holding on, thinking that you literally did not love me. You really just don't care. You just out here going about your life when in actuality you don't even know how to like process. He didn't even know how to process the loss of one child. And then 2 years later he has another daughter. And he's not healed from the previous trauma of losing the first one. I literally broke down in tears. And then, he's like all emotional. And he's like, well, I'm not going to ask to start over. He's like, but I would love to, start from right now. And I thought that was, I thought that was like, oh my God, I can't even put it into words. It was just insert whatever word you want to put right there. It was amazing for me. Like, I felt like I wanted to hear that all my life, and to actually hear him say it was just like, because like before you hear it, like before you actually talk to somebody, you be like, you in your mind, you playing all these different scenarios because you don't think that people are going to actually be like, yeah, I fucked up. So you don't actually believe that you're going to hear that. Because, history, people don't be apologizing, holding themselves accountable. But, so when I heard that, I was just like, oh my God, like, of course, I would love to start from right now. And I didn't know that he literally meant right now. So, like, every day since we had that conversation, I was either at his house, he was at my house, he was on his way to my house, I was on my way to his house, he was on the phone while he was on his way, either way. And so it was pretty dope. And then 2021, my father passed away. And at the time, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how I felt. And then as I continued to process and grieve and understand the grieving process, I began to feel hurt. I felt robbed. I felt, um, how did I finally get him? He's finally in my life, and then like he's gone. And then I shifted my focus from he's finally here, and then I just thought about every day for the last 6 years of his life. I had a blast with him. I had a, I had a blast, and I thought to myself, what if I never would have talked to my parents? What if I would have continued to walk around with that anger or bitterness or just hatred? I'm not gonna say I really hated my parents because I didn't. I love them for bringing me here and allowing me to experience things in my life. Some of them I didn't wish to experience, but it was more so just understanding. I went through so much in my childhood. My father, I was raised in church, and so my father was like, when I would see you, and I was like, wait, where would you see me at? He was like, I used to see you all the time. So you was watching me this whole time and you didn't even say nothing to me? Anyways, so he was like, I would just see that you were just so unhappy. And I was convincing myself that I was happy. I was convincing myself that I was happy. I was real life convincing myself that I was happy. I thought about situations that happened to me, and you know how before a scenario happens in your mind, like you'll hear somebody going through something, you'll be like, man, if that ever happened to me, I wish a motherfucker would do that to me. You have all of these things that, like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm gonna say, this is how I'm gonna say it. You have all of these things planned, right? Until it actually happens. And then you are literally standing there because you can't believe. I couldn't believe that things happened. And so I would always say if something happened to me, I would tell my uncles because I know being the oldest, and I was the only girl for it. Now I was the only girl for a long time though. I was the oldest for like 11 months, but the only girl for a long time. A long time I was the only girl. But I knew that to they would go to hell and back for me. And then situations started to happen to me, and then I just thought to myself like, I can't I can't lose you. I can't lose you to the system. I can't lose you to gun violence. I can't lose you to anything. I need you to be around to teach me things. And so I began to internalize everything. Everything that happened to me, I began to internalize. At the same time, I'm trying to people please. At the same time, I am just trying to find a way of escape from everything that I am going through. I think about people, like I said, I have friends who grew up in two-parent households and they lived just like I lived. And it's like they had a single parent. And I couldn't for the life of me think like, no, because when you're growing up, you hear like, oh, married husband and wife, two parents and two incomes and two cars, a house and a dog and a white picket fence. Like you hear all of these different things. So that's what you think. But as I got older, I began to understand like life be life in everybody life. I know I got friends who were raised by their grandparents. Like their parents were around, but they were raised by their grandparents. And sometimes I don't think families realize um, how their upbringing affects their present day life. Like I said, I was grateful that I grew up in a house where they asked you how you were doing, how was your day. Like they all like communication was huge in my family. My granny would cook every Sunday. We would go to her house and eat, and she would talk, and she wanted to know how our week was. If we were having situations, she would pull up. She would pull up and, not on that rah rah, but she would pull up and just be like, hey, his is my understanding. Like it would be like a parent teacher conference. She called, and it was great. It was really great. And then I thought, like, what if I couldn't imagine, like, I couldn't imagine growing up in foster care. I couldn't imagine growing up um, in a situation where my parents weren't there. Of course, my father wasn't there, but I couldn't imagine growing up without parents. Like I spent a lot of time at my granny house, like most kids back in the 80s. Um, but I thought it was the dopest thing. Like I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, we was always at my granny house kicking it. I learned how to cook. I learned how to separate clothes. I learned how to do all kinds of stuff. My granny was amazing. And then I was, talking to other people, and it's just like their families are different. We all heard of people whose families, like somebody was on drugs or somebody was living an alternative lifestyle, and kids had to fend for themselves. Kids fending for themselves. I when I was younger, I was like, I wanted to be a pediatrician, or I just wanted to work with kids. And then I thought to myself, like, my heart is really, as a child who has endured a lot, as an adult who, as a child, had endured a lot, I couldn't imagine being a social worker. If you're a social worker, you have my utmost respect, because I couldn't imagine being a social worker. Um, the slightest hint of anything happening with a child, it would definitely be different. Definitely. I think about all of the kids that grow up in households, or even the LGBTQI plus A community kids that grow up in households where they hear their family members or their parents talk about or use derogatory terms when they refer to people of the alphabet mafia or the gay community. Um, so can you imagine what their life is like growing up, um, having these feelings, but hearing the negative things that people say, or even people that's growing up and not really into relationships, that love chess or love playing sports or love anything other than that, and because uh, our parents have issues that no one talked to them about, they indirectly pass those things on. I remember when I was growing up, I would see my auntie, and I used to think she was the flyest chick. Like I always wanted a Jerry curl, but my mother was like, no. I just thought Jerry curls was cool because my auntie had I felt like I grew up in a household with them, so I felt like they were my auntie. They were my aunties and my uncles, but because I was in a house, I thought, like they was my older brothers and sisters. They were still my aunties. So they would take me to the park, and I played basketball was my thing. My uncle, he showed me a couple of things, and I just think about all the fun times that I had growing up. And then, sometime when you get like maybe a teenager, early adult, it's like, you throw things in the back of your head when you little. Like you just, oh, you said you was gonna buy me this toy, but you didn't buy me this toy. You just throw it in the back of your head. You ain't like, oh, I'm not gonna ever trust you again. You just like, oh, well, I'll get it the next time. Is it naivety? I don't know. But when you're little, you just be trusting everybody, right? So then when I got older and I had a situation with my auntie, I never would have thought it would have happened, but it happened. And I was talking to my brothers about it the other day, and I was just like, it's crazy how when you're younger, you just store things in the back of your head, and you don't ever plan to go back there and like deal with it. It's just there. And then you go to therapy and you start releasing shit, and then that pops up, and you're just like, but I don't know if I want to talk about that. I don't know if I'm ready to talk about that. I don't know if that's something I want to revisit. And then I said to myself, when the pandemic happened, I'm on a journey of healing and self discovery. I said, I don't want to walk around carrying burdens or holding on to things from my childhood, my young adulthood, my teenage years. Like, I don't want to. I'm 43. I was actually 40 then, but I'm 43 now. I'm about to be 44 this year. And I feel lighter. I feel lighter from talking to my parents and let them know how I felt. I feel lighter from spending time with my brothers and letting them know how much I love them. They could talk to me about anything, and as as I am right now, I wish that I didn't say that. And it's not bad. It's because when you tell guys, they could tell you about anything. They literally tell you about anything, and some things I just was not trying to know, but they didn't. I'm not gonna say they didn't care. They were just like somebody we could talk to, and I would just be looking like, oh my god, I just opened up a door that I never intended to open. I just thought, because you'd be like, hey, we cool. Come talk to me about anything. And then I realized as we get older life happens to us. Um, my brother said something to me a while back. He said, I didn't want to be a burden. And I asked him and I said, what makes you think that you are a burden to me? You could never be a burden to me. I'm so comfortable in the place in my life that I am in. If at any time that I feel like our communication is affecting my peace, I will communicate to you that you are affecting my peace. I 2 years ago, I had a major surgery and I was so independent. I was so I can do it on my own because there is nothing like being disappointed by somebody you love. There is no hurt. There is no hurt than a hurt of being disappointed or being hurt by somebody you love. That hurt, if not dealt with, it will grow and it will fester. Luckily for me, I dealt with that hurt. I talked about it. I talked about it so much where when I talk about it, when I talk about it, I feel like it used to be like a little knot in my throat. But now when I talk about it, it's like freedom. Freedom. I tell people I love to talk. I when I was younger, I had my innocence stolen. You have people that you can tell, or you go and you tell people, and then the questions that people would ask when I was younger would just make me look at them like, what the fuck are you? What's going on? Yes, when I was younger, I was just like, how are you trying to make this my, like, I don't want, I didn't want that. So for like, I want to say 2.5 years, I probably think it was longer, but I literally stopped talking. I just stopped talking. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just be moving and shaking without saying a word. Not a word to anybody. And my mom just looked and she was like, oh, she'll talk when she's ready. And I just thought, why am I going to speak if no one's going to listen? Why am I going to open my mouth and speak and tell you how you wronged me, tell you what you did to me and how it made me feel if you're just not going, there's nothing going to happen. There's nothing, it's just going to be like, oh, okay. And we're going to keep on going. If I tell you, hey, this happened at your house and you're looking at me like, impossible. Why would that happen at my house? And then you looking at me like, oh, well, just don't come over anymore. That doesn't negate the fact of what happened at your house. I think about just since the pandemic, right? I think about the people that were going to work or going to school to escape what was going on in a household. And then the government was like, oh, we got to shut it down. And now everybody is locked into their house. I thought about the people that was experiencing domestic violence. I thought about the people that are experiencing like just mental health crises and all of those things. And it's just like, at what point do we get out of ourselves and help people? I thought like, people go up in families and they always be saying like, what happened? I know, hold on, let me, I know you've heard this. Maybe you didn't, no one said it to you, but you heard somebody else say it. What happens in this house stays in this house. I heard that so much when I was growing up. Not necessarily from my family, but like I would go to other people's houses or whatever, and I just thought like that is some really hurtful shit. I'm in this house and some people are getting abused morning, noon, and night. Some people aren't eating. Some people aren't getting being able to shower, change their clothes. They don't have a safe place to sleep. And I think to myself, like, people grow up, right? People grow up. I was watching this TikTok the other day and I shared this with some of my community people. And I was like, the TikTok, the young man, he was actually an older man. He was in the store and he walked up on this guy and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like he like talked to him like he was just having an entertaining conversation. And then the conversation shifted when he said, "Ain't your mama?" And he named the man's mother and he was like, "Yeah, that's my mama." And "Ain't your sister?" He was like, "Yeah, that's my sister." And then he turned the camera around to the man's face and he said, "This is the man that tried to assault me when I was 7 years old." And then you could hear in his voice, like his voice trembled a little bit. But then he was like, "Yeah, this is him." He said, "I've been looking for you for so long because I wanted to tell you." And he just started telling him everything, like, he wanted to tell him basically. And I just watched that and I was just like, and he was like, "And then you got the nerves to be in this store with a the little girl." He said, she's such a beautiful little girl, whoever she is. He said maybe he's not into her, but he's only into. And I just watched that and I was just like, now most people will see that and be like, "Oh, why do you have to do it like that?" Or why. But for me, that was freedom. That was like that was freedom. Imagine having to go to your Uncle Pete's house for the barbecue or your grandma's house for the barbecue and stuff happened to you at your grandma's house and you told your mama, you told everybody, but your grandma is the only place that you can go because your mama got to go to work or your daddy got to go to work, so you got to go to your grandma's house. And then, you get older and you go no contact. That's a new word. That's what they call it now. You go no contact. You don't hang out with your family as much. You don't talk to them. You don't go around them. And then you hear, "Oh, you bougie, or you acting funny, you think you better." And people don't understand. People deal with situations differently. Some people will just be like, "Oh, it happened to me. Just get over it." Get over it is a new thing that we be telling people. But I want to encourage you in 2024, don't tell people to get over it because sometimes it takes years for people to get over things. I was telling my friends, I said, I would be willing to go to group therapy with you guys. I would go to group therapy. I told my brothers, I would go to therapy with you guys. I want y'all to go to therapy. I wish everybody could go to therapy. And it's not just because, oh, somebody's going to get in your head. It's because we are walking around with trauma suits on. We're walking around with trauma suits on and wearing them proudly. Wearing them proudly. Was expressing some time ago on my when I was first started doing the podcast really, and I was expressing how important it is for parents to resolve the issues of their childhood. Because a lot of times parents, "Oh, I'm not going to treat my kids like that," or "I'm not going to make my child do this," or "I'm not," it's what a whole lot of "I'm nots," but they don't look at the bigger picture. It's it's people my age that do not know how to properly sort clothes. And I'm not saying that as a dig. I'm saying like that's something I learned when I was like 7 or 8, like how to properly sort clothes. And it wasn't because um I had to be an adult. It was my grandmother. It was like teaching me all of the things. She was teaching me everything, how to cook in case in the event I was somewhere and I needed to learn it. I knew it. I had elders around me that was teaching me different things. It was yes ma'am, no ma'am. It wasn't what? It wasn't none of that. It was like yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. It was levels of respect. Excuse me. It was we look after one another. I remember if you on nah, I do not condone this, but I remember if somebody hits you, hit them back. If you at school and somebody hits you, you tell the teacher, you tell somebody, and if it continues, then that's where I come from. I come from that era. I come from the you don't come in the house if you know somebody is out and your family is outside. You be out there with them. I come from that era. You look after your family. That's the era I come from. Having said that, I come from an era where my family wasn't doing um incestual things. Is that a word? I don't know, but it sounded like it should go right there. They wasn't touching each other. They wasn't doing any of that thing. I come from a family that was loving and that would tell me what I needed to know. That's the kind of family I come from. And then I realized not everybody comes from a family like that. I feel like in 2024, having survived a pandemic for 4 years, it's time for us to do better. It's time for us to go back to the times where there was like communities of families, like families where you could just build and grow. Families was raising like there was a community that helped you raise your child and helps you build. And now it's just like, don't touch my kids. I be telling my brothers all the time. I don't whoop. Let me say this. My oldest nephew will be 21. Actually, I think he about to be 22 in December. I have not whooped. I've from 21 all the way down to 3. I have not whooped not and one of my nieces or nephews. I always thought I got one whooping in my entire life. I got one whooping in my entire life, and I always thought to myself, like, that's something that could have been talked to me. Like, I'm a good listener. I'm a good listener. I'm a really good listener. You could have talked to me and told me or expressed to me what it is, and I would have been okay. But I got one but and in my entire life, I vowed to never hit a child, but to talk to them and help them understand the error of their ways. That was my objective. My family be like, "Oh, you should pop their hands. You should do this," and I just look at them like, I will be the one person in their life that will not cause physical harm to them. And not saying that that's what it is considered nowadays. When I was growing up, it wasn't that, but that's what it's considered nowadays. No, I hug them, I kiss them, and I tell them, "Hey, this is what you did," and they look at me and say, "I'm sorry, TT," and I just say, "Oh." I be trying to be strong. I try to be strong. I try to have that face where it be like I'm so serious. But then I just look at their little faces like they let me help you out. Let me tell you so that in the event you go over your uncle's house, you don't get a whooping because TC done told you this is what you shouldn't do, you know? I feel like if more families talked about the shit that happened in the families, like the auntie Catherine, who, was doing what she was doing to the young people, or the Uncle Pete's who was doing what they was doing, or even the abuse that was suffered, the mistreatment. If more people talked about that, right, there will be families will be sticking together more. And that's not to say that every family has had that happen, but every family has had some sense. We all have a drug addict in our family, an alcoholic in our family. We all have all of these different things in our family. It might not be our immediate family, but we all have them in our families. Sometimes people use drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with the traumas that they experience in their life. And I know you probably like you throwing that word trauma around, but sometimes that's how people cope. Some people, I know people who get up out the bed and the first thing they do is roll a blunt, smoke one. They can't, their day does not go right if they don't. I know people who drink. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm sure y'all heard somebody. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I know people. I mean, I know all kinds of people. I used to be one of those people. I used to drink my life away, like real life, drink my life away. I was thinking about this. My cousin passed away in January, and I just saw, like, It's when people pass away, like when he's alive, we talked all the time and hung out or whatever, and we would joke. And then I thought, like, man, all of our generations, like the younger generations, they're not really into alcohol. Whew, thank God. But um, alcoholism is something like most families don't even know like the things that are huge in their families. Like every family has like something that. So alcoholism is one of them in my family. And when I thought about it, like I would drink, but I would never get drunk. Let me like, I got drunk 2 times in my entire life, and I've been drinking since had my first sip of Pabst Blue Ribbon when I was little. You know, if you're a parent and you have a party or whatever, and you leave stuff around, back in the days, I was not thinking about catching nothing. No, I'm sorry, y'all. Just process that right now. I'm like, I didn't even think about catching nothing. I'm drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. Like, I don't even know what it was. I just saw everybody was drinking, and I turned it up. And that's when I realized I didn't like beer. And then when I got like 14, 15, Jack Daniels became my best friend. Actually, it was Paul Masson, and then it was Jack Daniels, and then it was any strong liquor I can get my hands on. And I didn't realize it until I got older. Was like I got drunk twice. The first time I got drunk, I had tried a Seagram 7, brown Seagram 7, and everybody else is like, "Oh, I got chasers, got chasers." I'm like, "Hey, I be drinking Jack Daniels straight out the bottle. It ain't nothing for me." And when I tell you, I was gone. That was the first time. And the last time that I had a drink, um, I am not proud to say this, but I was drinking and driving, and I fell asleep at a light. I didn't harm anybody. I just totally terrified myself. I was drinking and driving, and I fell asleep at the light, and it seemed like I had only like been asleep for like like I could close my eyes for a second, and I was literally sitting at the stoplight. And so I pulled over, and I was like, if you let me make it home, I won't drink ever again. And I told everybody not to drink. I told them about my story, drinking and driving. And so I made it home. I wasn't too far from my house. So I made it home, and I cried. I could not stop crying because I was just like, what if my foot would have slipped? Like, what if, and I knew, like, I had knew, like, I was at the crazy thing. I was at the repast for my cousin, and all of the cousins was there, and we were eating. And I was like, you know how people would be like, "Oh, get you a burger, get you some greasy food because it's gonna absorb the liquor." Why do we be saying stuff like that? Like, it's gonna absorb the liquor. And so I had ate a bunch of food. If you know me, you know I like to eat. I ate a bunch of food, and I didn't feel drunk. I didn't feel drunk. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and go home. I'm gonna go ahead and go home. And I just cried because I was like, I could have changed not only somebody else's life, I could have changed the course of my life. And so then it was just like, why do I even fucking drink? Why do I drink? And then I thought, like, the first time you'd be like, yeah, I just like to have a good time. I'm turning up. And it was like, no, that's not why I'm drinking. I'm drinking because I am masking the shit that I threw in the back of my head when I was younger. And my mind and the fiber of my beings is saying, hey, you don't stuff too much stuff. You see those cartoons where people put too much stuff in the closet? Like, you don't stuff too much stuff back here. And we trying to have new experiences. So we just gonna open. And it opened. And the crazy thing is, now that I think about it, my life has been trying to tell me to get rid of shit since I was 18. So I feel like it's important for me to come here and talk about traumas and talk about setting boundaries and talking about healing and love, because my entire life has been one big book of family, breaking cycles, boundaries, healing, and love. I remember when I was 18 and I had what they call a brain attack. It was like a nervous breakdown and a stroke at the same time. I didn't understand it fully at that time. And so they're talking to me, and I told you guys I had stopped talking like 12 or 13. I literally stopped talking, didn't say a word. So I was 18. I had literally lost my ability to talk. I had voluntarily stopped talking 12 or 13. I had literally lost my ability to walk and talk. I was so confused because I could hear my thoughts in my mind. I could hear them. And I'm like, my face is stone cold, right? This is what I realize now, like listening to people tell me after. But my face was stone cold, but in my mind, I'm talking to them and I'm telling them, they're asking me questions and I'm talking to them and I'm telling them what is going on. And they're just looking at me, and my mom's over here crying. My uncle's over here crying. My sister's trying to communicate what I'm saying, and I'm not even saying anything. I didn't realize I wasn't saying anything because I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I'm talking to them. And then I hear them say, she's not responsive. And I said, what? I am responding. I'm talking to you. And then I had to motion for them. Can I get a pencil and a piece of paper? And then I literally couldn't move. So I'm like, what is going on? So they're like, hey, if you don't respond, we're going to have to get the white coats to come and get you. And I had no clue what the white coats was. But then my sister whispered in my ear and she said, and I'm over here like, so my hand is shaking and they give me the pencil. This is how I held the pencil right here. And I wrote like, it looked at completely like elementary. It was beyond elementary. But they was like, okay, she responded. And I'm in my mind, I'm having this thing. It's so crazy to be trapped in your own mind. I'm like, how come they can't hear me talking? I'm literally, like I'm talking to y'all right now. This is literally how in my mind I was talking to them. I ended up having to go to art therapy. And never knew it was a certain kind of therapy. And now that I look back at it, I think that my art therapist was some kind of like, I don't know, it was different. It was different. She taught me about the energies. Like she had me do this on my arm, and like I never touched my arm, but I could actually feel the sensations of being touched. And she was like teaching me about the metaphysics and all these different things, and I didn't understand it at that time. And then she said, you're a singer, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm a singer. She's like, sing something. Craziest shit ever, right? I could not speak a word, but I could sing. Blew my mind. And I'm saying this because this is a part of my healing journey. Blew my mind, right? So then she was like, if you could sing, you could talk. And so I'm trying to talk to her, but nothing would come out. And so then I just sung to her, and I was like, I can hear myself with the word. I can hear the words that I'm saying to you in my brain. And that's when I realized, like, sometimes holding on to shit can be really dangerous. Really dangerous. And I'm not trying to tell you to be out here spreading it on the wings of the morning on Facebook, social media, or whatever like that. But what I am trying to tell you to do is resolve it with yourself first. And then once you resolve it with yourself, go to that person. And if they won't hear you, leave it with them. Leave it with them. Leave it. Don't take it with you and be like, oh, these MNFers wasn't even trying to hear me. Leave it. It is 2024. You have carried that around long enough. Long enough. You've carried it long enough. If you are a parent, it is time for you to either forgive your parents or have a conversation with them. Have a conversation with them, forgive them, or just leave them alone altogether. And if you are a parent and you have experienced situations at your mother's house or your uncle's or your auntie's house, do not allow your kids to go over to the same place. And I know you probably be like, oh, they older now. don't subject your kids to that same situations that you endured unless you know that they have changed. Unless there has been a conversation had and you made your, discrepancies known. Then go ahead. But if you know that your parents didn't treat you right, why would you send your kids over there? I know we like to think that our parents will do different, but some people are just old and set in their ways. Some people are old and set in their ways. And as I process through life and learning how to talk again and walk again, um, life will continue to give me messages. And I wasn't trying to listen because I just knew. I knew that one day I was going to be in a place where I would be so confident, so comfortable with me. I knew. And for me, I was just trying to make it through the next day. That's what I was trying to do. Carrying all kinds of baggage, I was just trying to make it to the next day. My family members would ask me what was going on, and I was thinking about them and their safety, and I would just be like, oh, nothing. I remember the first time my uncle passed away, he recently passed away. Well, he passed away. He said to me, he said, "You are the most courageous person I know to actually go to therapy." And he was like, "I don't know what encouraged you or inspired you to do that, but I'm happy that you did it, and you are going to be okay." And I thought, like, I sure in hell hope so, because I grew up in church, and it was like, you don't go to therapy because then people gonna put the demons gonna take over your mind and all this stuff. So I'm sitting there trying to get help at the same time, like, oh, let me put my guards up because you're gonna try to put something in my head. And I kid y'all not, I don't know if this was just my therapist or if this is how therapy's supposed to go, but this shit worked for me. My therapist asked me so many questions about me that I was kind of confused, because I was like, you just got me in here because you know I'm talking about me. But then when I actually thought about it, right, she was just guiding me. She literally guided me from the time I was 8. From the time I was 8 until the time and up until the time I like literally stopped going. She guided me. Guided me and helping me see things in a different manner. I used to think that my mother was like so strict, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I didn't realize that she was protecting me from a lot of things. Shit still happened to me, but a lot of shit could have happened to me had my mother not been who she was. I thought when I was growing up, I wanted to go to a predominantly, I wanted to go to an African American school or the hood school. I wanted to do all of that. But my mother was like, no, you're going to go out there. You're going to get on that bus and you're going to go out to Chapter 220. Chapter 220 is predominantly white institution. So I've been in predominantly white institutions since 6th grade. And it didn't get any easier, especially when I went to college. But I'm grateful for my family, because whenever I needed them to show up, they showed up every time. And they made their presence known every time. And for that, I will forever be grateful. Forever be grateful. I'm grateful to know that as I got older, or now I'm in my 40s, right? I'm grateful to be able to set boundaries, and my family don't cross those boundaries. They respect the boundaries because they understand I was able to communicate, hey, this is what this is, and I'm not doing anything above and beyond this. I'm not. Again, I don't have kids, so I'm not doing anything above and beyond. I'm ready to travel. I'm ready to do all. I don't mind watching my nieces and nephews, but I am not. Boundaries. Hey, you disrespected me when I was younger, but I'm a grown ass woman right now, and I would hate for it to get to a point where you and I are not speaking, because I'm nonviolent all day. I'm light, love, and positivity. But I would hate to get to the point where I don't speak to you. I would hate that. Back in my younger days, I would say you will hate if I didn't. But now I would hate not speaking to you. Especially given that, like, the world is like crazy right now. It was crazy before, but it's really crazy right now. Like, we are gotta figure out who our president is gonna be. There's like illnesses, there's wars, there's like all kinds of things going on right now. And we need each other. We need each other to grow. We need each other to learn. We need each other to live. It's so many family members that don't speak to each other. So many siblings that grew up in the same household. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I can't say I know your experience, but I understand not speaking to your siblings if they did some fucked up shit. I totally get it. Totally get it. And at the same time, I'm saying it is 2024. If you, I don't know if y'all is like me, if y'all like me, but if I have a situation with somebody, I know eventually I'm going to want to talk to you. It might not be right away, but eventually I'm going to want to talk to you. And I felt like I don't want to like leave things unresolved, so I will talk to you. I'm going, hey, let's go to lunch or dinner, or can we have a phone conversation? Because before I can move forward, I need to say this. And then I'll leave it there. I'm not carrying around any more baggage. I started this podcast because I realized that a lot of people don't talk. A lot of people experience a lot of things, and a lot of people feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this podcast, Nurturing Conversations, and I'm going to have some conversations about some nurturing stuff. You can come here. My email is in the description. You can send me, hey, this is a topic I want to talk about, or I want to hear about, or I want to discuss. Feel free to come. Feel free to come. This is a safe space. There's no judgment. Whatever you say stays here. And like I said in my disclaimer, I'm not a mental health professional, but I can share with you my personal experiences and tell you from that. I don't have a medical degree. I do have a degree. It's in music administration, but I can tell you from the school of hard knock life how to change it. Because listen, 2024 is definitely going to be different. And if you don't have a community surrounding you, uplifting you, you get your community. That's what I'm going to say. And your community can be your family. It can be your family. I'm so grateful that my grandmother instilled in us family. Instilled in us family. Like, we have a cousins chat. I sometimes don't be participating because I be getting ready to reply, and they younger than me. You know, I'm the oldest. They younger than me, so they be typing 59, typing and memes and all kinds of stuff. And the thing I was gonna type was already gone, so I just be playing the game with them. I'll be in there, let them know I'm in there. But it's like, it's so crazy. Like, I'm like the oldest and the only girl for like 12, 15 years. 12, 15 years, somewhere in there, between 12 and 15. And then all of the ones younger than me is like, it was like girls for a whole span of years. It was like girls back to back to back to back to back. So, you know, I have the privilege. I'm just talking. But no, it's pretty dope to be able to like spend time and hang out. Like, I love my family. And that's not, I know everybody can't say that, but listen, it's 2024. Whatever you holding on to, I will not tell you to let it go. I will tell you to resolve it. If you are a parent and maybe your parents are not here anymore, go to therapy and deal with the issues that you had. I'm not going to call it traumas. I'm going to say issues because people be weird about the word trauma. But the reality of it is trauma. I remember my therapist told me I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and I looked at her and I said, never been to war. never been in a violent environment. And she was like, well, where do you live? And I told her where I live. And she's like, have you ever heard? And I was just like, all right, gunshots. And she was like, how do you deal with trauma? And I was like, what do you mean trauma? She's like, how do you deal with things that, and I was just like, I don't. I just throw it in the back of my mind and just move on. And she's like, and she told me the definition. I was like, oh my God. I thought that was only for people that go to war. I didn't know that everyday people can suffer from post traumatic stress disorder. I mean, how would I know that? I mean, I grew up in church. It was like, if you're going through something, give it to Jesus, and he just gonna wipe it away. And that's no knock to Jesus. I'm just saying, like, that's what they were saying. Like, put it on the altar, and Jesus is gonna help you. But you got to do 11 things, and then, anyway. But it's time for us to restore families, and I'm I'm gonna do a TikTok on this, right? Because this is relevant to this whole conversation of families, right? Everybody who knows Michael Jackson, whatever, regardless of what age you are, you know that Michael Jackson did not like Sony. He did not like him. He called the owner of it, the devil. He was against all of that. Do y'all know that Michael Jackson's family sold his music back to Sony for 1.2, upwards of $1.2 billion? Now, I know some of y'all probably gonna hear that and be like, well, they got a lot of money. They did all of this. This man did not like those people. Did not like them at all. That's like your mama ain't did shit for you your entire life and something happened to you and your kids go to your mama. He despised those people. But because his family saw that there's an opportunity for them to get money, they sold it off to them. Sold it. Michael Jackson is now back with Sony. The same thing for like Prince and his family. Everybody know how he felt about the music industry. These people came with a couple of million or probably $1 billion too. It was like, hey, we just want to get one more Prince album. And those people was like, okay, sure. But where's the people that's going, me and my family has been having an uncomfortable, I call it an uncomfortable conversation because people don't like to talk about death. But the reality of it is, especially given that we are currently in a global pandemic, people should talk about it. You should talk to your family and let them know how you want to, how do you want to leave here? Like I told my family, I want to be cremated. Here's something that I found strange. I told my family that I want to be cremated. I don't want to have a funeral. I want this person to speak. And then I just want y'all to turn up, have a good time, eat good food, be together, right? And then it dawned on me, I'm not even going to be here. So it kind of doesn't really matter what I want, really, in certain aspects. But I'm going to make sure that my cremation and all of those things are taken care of. All of them is going to be taken care of. So then you guys just show up. I got some, I'm telling everybody, if you see me out and about, take a picture with me. So you don't have to go back to when I was 10, 11 to pull a picture. You could have a present picture right now. But we were talking, and like most people don't even talk about how, like what they want to happen. Like parents, if you are a parent, you should have some kind of documentation for if in the event that something should happen to you as a parent, who will be responsible for maintaining your children? Who will make sure? I know people have godparents. Hi Trish, or hi the Savvy Therapist. I know kids have godparents, but who will actually be in control of your children if something was to happen to you? Who will be in control of like your money, your home? If you have a home and you are like paying for it, right? Who will be who will own that? Like we, talking about wills and who, trusts and all these different things. And I was just like, we all should be talking about these different things. We all should be talking about any event that they shut us down again, or they don't, we don't pick a president, or I don't know what could happen, because it's so many different things happening right now. But we're not even paying attention to it because we were concerned about who Monique and Cat Williams talked about. And I ain't talking about because I love Monique and Cat Williams, but we're more concerned with those things than like, hey, if I was to pass away today, if I was to go in a hospital, how would I maintain that? I'm telling y'all, 2 years ago when I had that major surgery, it changed the way I looked at everything. I was so Miss Independent, INDEPEND. That was me. I could take care of everything on my own. I didn't look for anybody else to take care of me. And then I got to the point where I couldn't even take care of myself. But you know who had me? My family had me. I struggled a bit with letting them have me, but then it was just like, that's what we here for. That's what we here for. We here to uplift, encourage, support, take care, look after each other. That's what we're here for. So they looked after me, and I just felt love in a way that was just beyond. I every day I just feel an overwhelming sense of love every day. I'm talking to y'all right now, and my brothers are texting me to see how I'm doing. What am I doing? Do I want food? Because you know it's Super Bowl Sunday, and everybody done cooked something. Of course I do. I started staying in a house more, and people was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just, I like to be at home all the time, anyways." But I got all this equipment in here, and I'm making music, and I'm creating, and I'm spending time. Like my nieces and nephews was over here earlier, and I just thought to myself, like, this is what I wanted when I was growing up. This is what I want. I loved, while I'm talking, um, my uncle was the first person to introduce, I loved music, right? My first, my first CD I had, my own CD, was Usher. I think it was, he was like chubby and he had like little curls in his hair. And then when I saw that chain, I told my uncle, I have to have that chain. Now, I didn't know that it was like a replica. I thought it was the actual Usher chain. So my uncle went and found me that Usher chain. I never took that chain off ever. Here it is. Usher is performing right now for the Super Bowl. My mom. So let me. It was a question asked. What did they cook? My mom made high game Playboy 22. My mom made um fried chicken breasts, white rice, and gravy. There's wings, of course, meatballs. You can never. I don't know who invented meatballs. My granny used to make the best Swedish meatballs, like homemade meatballs. And then she had like egg noodle, like all of it was homemade. That's why I love. This is why I be. This is why I call it cooking for therapy. So then there's macaroni and cheese. There's taco dip, rotel, all the foods. And I said, bring everything because I'm starting juicing in the morning. Why is it before we get ready to do a diet or workout, we feel like we gotta have, I gotta just get my favorite foods one more time. No, you don't need it. I tell myself I don't need it. Now I do need a Sprite. I don't need that Sprite, but I feel like I just need to have one more Sprite. Just one more. I'm sorry, y'all. I be laughing at myself a lot of times. Like I'm gonna tell y'all the realization that I realized, right? You know that there's like a saying like people are afraid to fail. I don't have a I'm not afraid to fail. I honestly had a fear of success. And I found that I procrastinate because I'm afraid because I know that once I do it it's going to be successful. I don't know why that is. I'm still working on that. But when I crossed into 2024 while I was battling the flu for 4 weeks, um I was trying to be active, still trying to like do stuff, right? And my body just kept saying rest. And then I had this thought of when I was little and I had the chicken pox, and I was like, I couldn't really do anything but just lay in the bed and eat chicken noodle soup and drink room temperature water. And I was just like, why can't I just be still right now? And then you think, because when you go older, you like hear people say, oh, you lazy, or you ain't trying to do nothing with your life. There's so many. And then I was just like, I'm just not going to do anything. And it felt great not to do anything. Anything. And in those 4 weeks that I was down, I came up with journals and books and kids stories and like nursery rhyme, all of these different things, right? And so, when you sick, you be making all kind of promises. Yeah, when I get better, I'm gonna do this. And so I got better, and life was like, so what we doing? And I'm like, I got affirmation cards. I already designed them and everything. I'm like, yeah, I made them. We need to get them printed. We need to get the box printed. We need to go all this. Okay, okay. Got the outline for the book. Started designing it. Started drawing out what I wanted to look like, and it's like, okay. And then this last week, I woke up and I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I hopped up out of my sleep and was like, you need to stop playing. You got everything that people out here are praying to God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever deity you serve. People are praying for the opportunities that you have, the abilities that you have, the equipment that you have in your room. People are praying for that and you have it. And you just like, well, and I said that to say this to you, right? You are looking at your phone all the time. You looking at YouTube videos, Twitch, Facebook, whatever platform, TikTok. You looking at all these people like, oh, I can do that. And I feel like I would be great if I shared this, but you don't do it because you keep looking at your phone. You think I'm too old. You think I don't got the proper resources. I need a ring light. I need light bulbs. I need all of these different things. All you need to do is pick up your phone and start. And I'm saying that to y'all because I did it. I did it. I realized that a lot of things from my youth was keeping me caged at my adulthood, but I never knew that that's what it was. I never knew that that's what it was. But then when I started accepting, acknowledging, and realizing and pivoting from what I normally would do to doing the very different thing, I realized like I only procrastinate because I love that, like that rush you get when like say your project is due at 11:59. It's that rush. I will literally wait till like 11:38 to submit it. I don't know why. I do know why. It was that rush that, ooh, I almost didn't make it. Not even taking into consideration the site could shut down, my internet could go out. I didn't think about none of that. And then when I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning talking to myself, it was like, you have everything you need to be successful. Everything. I got the lights, I got the mics, I got the equipment, I got the recording equipment, I got the instruments, I got everything I need to be successful. The only reason I'm not successful is me. Only reason. It's not because then nobody gave me a platform, because again, I'm streaming on multiple platforms right now. I have the platforms. I just got to utilize them. You probably been want to write a book. Utilize the platforms that are available to you. If you need a little assistance, dial into chatgpt.ai, IO. Just type in ChatGPT in your Google. Yeah, type in the ChatGPT in your Google. It'll help you. It will totally help you. I'm gonna share some things in the coming weeks that if you want to do YouTube thumbnails, it'll help you. I'm going to share with y'all. I'm going to break it down on how you create a lot of things. Because I said to myself in 2024, I want to share a lot of the resources that I have. I want to share a lot of them. I want to do a lot of public speaking. I want to bring the podcast, both of my podcasts back. My other podcast, I want to have the audio version, but the video version, I want to interview actual people in the music industry, from the music industry. And no sooner than I said that, doors start opening where I could interview people. And I was just like, okay, now let me be a little careful about what I say. Cause can I get a Tesla with the, no, I'm just joking. I do want a Tesla though, but I'm being real cautious about the things that I say. And then I realized from growing up in a family where communication is important, I understand the importance of communication. I understand that. I understand if somebody hurt your feelings, just don't be like, hey, you hurt my feelings. Tell them exactly what they did because maybe they don't know. And that's not to say that people don't know. That's just saying sometimes people don't know that they hurt your feelings. People don't know. Sometimes they so used to, they grew up in a family where all they did was talk about each other every day and everybody just laughed, uncomfortable laugh because it was like ha ha he, but at the same time they were hurt. So they don't know that they just hurt your feelings. That's another thing we need to talk about in families. Like, hey, that shit hurts. You know, they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't know what reality they fucking live in, but words do be hurting. They do hurt, especially when they come from people that is creative with their words. Creative. I realized at a young age that I am really talented when it comes to words. Really talented. And because I'm really talented when it comes to words, I have to be really mindful of the things that I say to people. Really mindful. I remember this one time I cursed somebody out, but I didn't use a curse word at all. I just literally told them about themselves in a manner in which I knew that they would think about it for a long time. And after that long time had wore off, the person came back to me and was like, that was some really hurtful shit you said. And I was like, but it was the truth. Nobody has said it to you though. All the people that you were around was just like, yes, 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 because you got the money, you bringing the drinks, you bringing the party, you paying for the party, you doing all the stuff. But nobody took the time to see how you were doing, what's going on with you. Nobody cared. And I wasn't like, oh, let me say this, but it was just like, listen, you gonna wake up one day and you're not gonna be able to bring the party. And those people are not gonna be around you. You're not gonna be able to pick people up and drop them off. They're not gonna be calling you no more because you not you. We all have experienced that. No, you're not good for nothing anymore. I need to go somewhere. Let me call you because I know you're gonna come. I'm telling y'all, when I realized, wait, I am a people pleaser. No, I'm not. I'm bargaining. Listen, I'm talking to myself like, no, I'm not no people pleaser. And I was like, holy shit, I'm a people pleaser. Not anymore. 2023, 2022, 2023. Actually, shit, the whole entire pandemic, I've been looking after myself. It's so liberating to be like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I remember when I started this podcast, every time before I go, I ask to speak in confidence, integrity, and love. And I hope that somebody takes something away that I said and feel inspired or empowered to be great for this week or the rest of their life. I hope that it is my intention to share my story to let you know that you are not alone. I said this in my disclaimer. One, you are not alone. And two, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. I would have never made it to be 43. I'm like, 4 months and a couple of days, weeks away from being 44. Never would have thought I ever would have saw 15, let alone 44. 14, I just knew it was over for me. I knew I was tired. It was over. But I just told you I'm about to be 44. I've overcome I've overcome alcoholism. I've overcome having my innocence stolen. I've overcome hatred. I've overcome so many things. I remember I told the people my story about going to a predominantly white college in a predominantly white town and seeing those people that were the ghosts and seeing them firsthand. And people were looking at me like, what? Yeah. Could you imagine? I was just in high school. And then it was 1999 I was in high school. And I graduated that June. And that August I went up north. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm looking at you in real life. In my mind, I don't know why I thought they just disappeared. I don't know why. Because in my mind, it's like, how the fuck do you hate somebody because, I don't know. But when I saw them with my own eyes, I was like, this is some really crazy shit. I was literally just reading about y'all in my history books. That's not like I was cool with them or nothing, but it was like I was literally just reading about y'all in my history books, and y'all actually do the shit that was history. Y'all actually doing the shit right now to us. 19 it was still 1999 when I went to the college and they had hate mail and all kinds of stuff calling us monkeys and everything. I just read about y'all in my history books in my high school. How am I looking at y'all? When I tell y'all I've overcome all kinds of things, I've overcome losing my ability to walk and talk. It took me, I want to say, a year and a half. It took me a year and a half to learn how to walk. Like, not, um, I learned how to walk in a year and a half. Like, I dragged my right side because my right side was like still limp. If you ever seen anybody had a stroke, like my right side was still limp. So I like could walk regularly with everything on my left side was regular, but my right side I just like dragged or whatever. And they gave me a walker. So I've been on a walker since I was 18. But they gave me a walker, so I overcame that. Um, I've overcome a lot of things. I had a couple of breast cancer scares. Why I'm saying that, if you are a young woman, if you or anybody in your family has had a history of breast cancer, please go get a mammogram. I have to go get a mammogram. There's something about mammograms, I'm telling you. Like, so I get a mammogram regularly because my grandmother had breast cancer. Four, four of her sisters had breast cancer. My mom had a situation. So I go and make sure, but I don't like the process of it. I feel like somebody should like figure out a different process where it's not it's just not what it is. I think there should be a different process. I just think the smashing, the mushing, all of that is just, I'm over it. I don't know if y'all like me, but when I go, I can't do nothing for the rest of the day because I just feel, man, I just got smushed and poked and prodded. It just be a whole lot, a whole lot. I remember like I've had a lot. I have a lot of. I had surgeries. I remember I had surgery for kidney stones. Have you ever had kidney stones? Oh, the worst. I had surgery for kidney stones. That was my first time ever. I had two major surgeries, or two surgeries. I don't think that was major because I could have. Anyways, but when I think about my life, like it's so many drinking and driving. It's so many different things where my life should have ended. It could have ended, but it didn't. And it's because I'm supposed to be here. There's some things I'm supposed to accomplish before I go. And I hope that while I'm here, I encourage, inspire, uplift, motivate people to be the best them, to be their best selves. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. I want to encourage you. If you want to write a book, and however I can help you with that book, if you need help getting your ISBN, ISBN. If you need anything, you want to set up an LLC, you need the business model Canva, anything that you need. However I can help you. If you need assistance with your channels or streams or content, however I can help you. And a lot of times we be looking at people like, oh, they don't even do it for themselves. A lot of times people just listen. I be having people hit me up all the time about content, and I can rattle content off all day, helping people get content, and I be watching them and they be killing. It's some artists out here right now that I was like, hey, you should do this or you should try this or whatever, and they out here killing right now. And then people was like, why don't you do it? And I was just like, 'cause you know. And then I said to myself, you are wasting. You are wasting all of your God given talents. And I know that's probably harsh to say, but that's what I'm doing. I'm not utilizing them. I'm just holding on to them. I'm harboring them. But as y'all see, I upload it every day except for yesterday and today because I've been doing some planning. I restructured my room. I took a drum a gig as a drummer. I don't even know how to say that, but I one of my friends was like, "Hey, I need a drummer for my show." Whoa. I need a drummer for my show that's happening in March. And I was like, I'll be the drummer without even thinking about it. I said, I'll be the drummer. And they was like, you play the drums? I was like, yeah. And then I showed them my drum set. I have a whole drum set sitting right here. And they was like, I didn't even know that you played the drums. I was like, yeah, I actually play a lot of instruments. And so I'm going to get back into playing them. And you guys will see it firsthand because I cleaned up my room. I tuned I'm going to tune my guitars and my basses on stream so you guys can see, like, I really know how to play them. I just want to be more I want to do it more. I don't want to just have all these talents and just not use them, you know. It's like somebody being cold at basketball but just I don't want to do that. It's like somebody being a great public speaker but just like I don't want to do that. And they working at a 9 to 5, and that's no knock to a 9 to 5, but you're working at a 9 to 5 knowing that you could do this. If you want to start streaming, stream. I was literally telling my brothers, I was like, listen, when I tell y'all that my niece she sings from the time she wake up to the time she just randomly fall asleep behind me. She is singing. I told my brother, I said, you should just start recording her singing. She sings, I'm gonna dance, dance, dance with my hand like Jesus. She sings that whole song. She know Peaches. She know all of the popular songs. She know them. And she could sing them on beat and everything. And I was like, oh, you should record them then. People was like, I don't know. I was like, do you know? I don't know how old. Let me see how old Ryan is right now. Ryan's toy review. Ryan is 12. Ryan has been making millions of dollars since he was like 8. I told my brother, I said, my nephew is so cold. Let me tell y'all, like, listen. My nephew is 4. He's about to be 5 in September. One late night, it was on a weekend. Didn't have to go to school. One late night, me and my Call of Duty Mobile team was running and we needed an extra player. We didn't really need one, but he was like, TT, you want to play? I was like, sure. And I let him play with me. Do you all know he ran like 4 games with us? And when I say he was running 4 games with us, he was running those games with us. Like, he was saving us and everything. He's like, don't worry, driving the car. I'm over here trying to play the game and I'm crying because I'm looking at him like, how did you learn how to play the game so good? What's going on right now? This got to be a joke. And I'm watching him the whole entire time, and he is really good at the game. He's good at Call of Duty Mobile. He's exceptionally good at Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm like, did you teach him how to play these games? He's like, no, I just bought the game for him, and he was watching it on YouTube, and now he can play the game. I was just like, you need to let him play the game. He needs to let him play the game. If your kids, whatever they doing, remember when they were doing slime, like everybody was making slime and those kids are just in a room and getting, baking soda, dishwashing liquid, and they was making slimes and kids had whole slime companies. And I was just thinking like, why aren't we trying to set our kids up? Like, this is their age, the digital age. I spoke at a high school a couple of weeks ago and I was like, y'all are the social media managers. Cause y'all know what's hot. You got all these other people. It's like, hey, you should point at the screen when you talk, or you should have a big text over your face while you're talking, like all of these different things. And I just be telling people, listen, try a bunch of stuff and check out your analytics. And it was like, oh, I was like, no, try out a bunch of stuff. That's a lot of the content that I have. I tried out. You guys show up for my meditations, podcasts, workouts, karaoke's, juke joint. Y'all just started showing up for the juke joints. I do the juke joints every Monday. So tomorrow I'll be doing juke joints. Puzzles, Call of Duty Mobile, whatever I do. It seems like whatever I do, y'all just show up. So for me, I'll be thankful, but I'll be telling people like, look at that. And then a lot of these other platforms give you analytics to let you know what times to post. People are like, oh, post at 10, but maybe all of your people don't look at your stuff until like 3. Maybe they look at it at 12. You just got to figure it out. And I said in 2024, I'm trying everything. So I have guided meditations. I have morning meditations, afternoon meditations, night meditations. Everybody was laughing and joking like, oh, yeah, Andre 3000 is doing a ambient music album. And I was like, oh, I've been doing ambient music. When you are in tune with life and the things that's going, that's why I came to y'all 4 years ago. It's like I'm being nothing but light, love, and positivity. Too much negative stuff. You can go on any social media and scroll, and there's something negative there. I want to be light, love, and positivity. I want to tell you every time I see you that I love you and that I need you and I want you to be the best you that you can. That's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you that how important it is to set boundaries. Even with your own family members, it's important for you to set boundaries. People will be like, oh no, but that's my mama. You still need to set a boundary. I was talking to someone and I was like, sometimes parents just feel like because they birth you, they just get to do anything. But at the same time, there should be some boundaries set. And that's no disrespect to parents, but there is boundaries that need to be set. There's boundaries. Remember the whole debate on if you let your wife or your husband or whoever sit in the front seat or put your mom in the back seat? There's boundaries. Sometimes people don't mind getting in the back seat, and I'm not saying it like that. It just all depends on your family and how y'all move and shake. But sometimes families be overstepping boundaries all the time, especially if you are in a relationship. Families be overstepping boundaries a lot, and some people be comfortable because that's their family. But at the same time, you are establishing a new family. That's not to say to totally disregard your original family, but you are establishing a new family, so you should make sure that, that's all I got, y'all. I just want to come talk to y'all, bring back for 2024. This is season 3. I'm naming it season 3, episode 1. Family ties, navigating trauma, boundaries, and healing with love. I definitely feel like I healed with love. And that's because I just sat down and acknowledged every fucking thing that has ever happened to me in my life. That room that was like bulging over. I know y'all seen a cartoon where they just study trying to stuff it in and then they get it in and then they like shoo and walk away and it just come out and there's stuff everywhere. I literally was like, you know what? Let me just open this door and pick up everything like once at a time. I tried to do it all at one time. It didn't work. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Handle it one at a time. I started with my parents and worked my way all the way on up until now. Freedom. When people be talking about, oh, I'm free. Freedom. Like if you ever had to say something to somebody and you was afraid of how they was going to react, I don't have that. I just have, I'm going to tell you how the fuck I feel and then I'm going to listen to you and, whatever. But once I get that off of me, it's off. I'm not walking around with anything anymore. I'm not going to hold it in. I'm not going to be like, oh, I should have said no. I am going to say it. I have 2 pictures that I post. Hey, Yaya. I have 2 pictures that I post. I have the picture of Cat Williams and I have the picture of Monique. If I send you any one of those pictures, if y'all see me post on any one of my social medias, any one of those pictures, just know I'm standing on business all day, every day. And you should too. We have all survived. Think about it, right? I don't know if y'all had COVID. I know people who had COVID 4 times. How? I mean, I know it's possible, but me, it's a no. It's a no. I stay in the house. I stay away from people. I just stay by myself. But I knew when I went out for Christmas, I'm like, oh, let's go hang out. It's Christmas. Got my mask on and everything. But then it was just like, as soon as I felt that I said, oh, no, it got me. I was just grateful that it wasn't COVID. It was just a plain old flu. That's what my doctor said. She was like, oh, it's been 4 years since we saw just a plain old flu. And in the way that they got me up out of that hospital, y'all, I'm telling y'all, it was the freakiest shit ever. They got me up out of that hospital so fast. And I don't know if y'all ever seen, I said it was a zombie movie, but like you ever seen a zombie movie where it's like they part where it's like, I don't even know. it was like a sea of zombies, and then they just like parted where I was walking. It was like a sea of sick people, and then like as I was coming out, they was just parting, and it was sick people everywhere. And I was just like, am I dreaming? But I knew I wasn't dreaming because my mother is sitting right here, my brother is sitting right there. But it was freaky like that. It was so freaky, and I was like, that is the fastest I've ever went through the. You ever been through the emergency room? You sitting in there for like 2.5 hours, depending on what day and who's at the desk, I guess. I was in there for like 20, no, I'm going to say 35, 40 minutes. That was the fastest I ever moved to the hospital. I said all that to say this, right? It is time for you to let go of the shit that you've been carrying around for all of your existence. I'm never going to tell you to let it go or get over it because as a 43-year-old woman, I am just getting over things that happened to me. I am just letting go of things that has happened to me. And the amazing thing is I've had someone to show me how to do those things. We can think, oh yeah, that happened to me, but I don't got a problem with it. And then you find yourself drinking or having a lot of sex or working a lot or whatever it is that you use to cope with whatever happened to you. That's whatever. If you get out of a bad relationship, then you hop in another relationship, or now you just out here, doing adult situationships with everybody. Whatever it is, take this time to figure out your life. Figure out where you want to be. If the people that are around you do not fit where you want to go, leave them. People say it's easier said than done. I like to believe that the moment you make up in your mind that you're not going to do something, the next second you have already changed. People's like, oh, I've been with this person for so long, I can't just leave them. I guarantee you, if somebody offered you not 1,000, I'll say $1 million to leave right now. Y'all ever seen them people pull up in the drive-thru and be like, hey, I'll give you $20,000 if you quit your job right now? And people be like, no, I'm not going to quit that job. I'm not going to quit this job, or I'm not. And you have people that be there. It's like, man, I really want to quit this job. But if I had the money, I'll do this. And then the person offering them, and it's like, but I need this job. Think about all the people who be working at a job, and then you ask to have a day off, or you get sick. You worked at this job for 20 years. You get sick, and then you can't come in. And then, they fire you. What they fire you for? Because you couldn't come in. And guess what? You can't get your job back because they don't already hire somebody else. I just saw that they wasn't going to start requiring, I think it's college degrees. What about the people? What about us who want to get one? Because y'all said we need one. I just know that for the rest of my life, I'm only going to do what makes me happy and what brings me peace. If the conversation, I feel the conversation is, I'm going to politely say, hey, this conversation is not conducive to my peace. It doesn't assist with my peace. I'm no longer interested in having this conversation, but thank you. And I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm real life. I'm real life. When it comes to my peace, that's why I be in my house. I don't be outside. I don't entertain none of that other stuff because I rule life. When you find peace, and when you obtain internal happiness, and you attain unconditional love for yourself, when you have all of those things together at once, you don't want anybody to come in and disrupt that. It's like you work your whole life, you buy a brand new car, right? You out here, you cruising, and somebody comes baselining and tear your shit up. Are you gonna be happy? You probably shed a couple of tears, you probably be crying, but you definitely gonna be angry because you worked hard to get that. I worked hard to be in a place of peace, love, and understanding, and have confidence in myself. You think I'm about to turn around from it? No. I literally put my entire life on display, right? I share my entire story on all of these different platforms. And while I was at the high school, the young man said, how do you overcome people talking about you? Or are you not afraid that somebody, and I was like, no, because I have the power. I shared with you my information so that you can't use it against me because I don't have the shame, the guilt, all of that stuff that was there when I was holding it in, it's not there no more. That's a part of my story. I can't lie. Oh no, that's a part of my story. That made me who I am today. That made me who y'all see. So I would never deny it. It's a part of my story. A lot of times people like to hide or negate the hardships. No, people want to know, how the fuck are you living? People want to know. The one young man was like, hey, what would you tell somebody that's looking to get in the music industry? I said, don't. He was like, but you work in the industry. I said, listen, I'm saying that because for 43 years, people have been saying, be mindful when you get in the music industry. Understand the business of music when you get in the music industry. Don't come here thinking that it's all rainbows and sunshine. They've been saying this for forever. Then you have people still trying to get in the music industry like, oh, it's not going to be me. It's not going to happen to me. That ain't gonna never happen to me because I wish somebody would. And then somebody tap you on your shoulder and you just be like, oh, dang. Countless numbers of, you could Google people saying, leave this party before this time. People don't believe them, so they be saying at the party after that time, and then stuff be getting weird. Like, so many things. Like, people have been saying forever what the industry is like, and people still be trying to get into it. Giving up everything they worked hard for to get into it. I had a conversation with my brother one day. I was like, people be so worried about, they don't go to the hospital, they don't go to doctors, they don't go to a dentist, they don't do a lot of stuff because they be worried about, oh, I have to pay somebody. Listen, as long as you exist, you are going to pay somebody. And even after you pass away, you still have to pay somebody. You got to pay them to either bury you, to burn you, whatever it is. You got to pay somebody to do that. So I advise you to go to the doctor. I advise you to go to the dentist, go to the foot specialist, wherever you need to go. Go to therapy. Definitely go to therapy. Give it like 4 sessions. 4. Just give it 4. I know there's a lot of preconceived notions about therapy. They're going to try to put stuff in your head. Why am I going to talk to somebody that I could just go over here and talk to them? If that's who you consider your therapist, go talk to them. Talk to somebody. Don't hold that shit in. Don't hold it in to the point till one day you just blow up. Talk to somebody. Let it out. I'm not going to tell you to let it go. I'm going to say let it out. Write it down on a piece of paper and burn it. Write it on one of those white plates and go crack it on the ground or something. Do something. Let it go. Let it go from you. Don't hold on to it anymore. You survived a global pandemic for 4 years. It is time for you to live your best life. I'm wrapping it up right now. I have to say that. That's all I got. Remember that it is important for you to use your words. I know we like to think people just should know us. You should know what I'm saying. You should know you've been with me all this time. You've been around me all the time. People don't know unless you say it. You hurt my feelings. You were disrespectful. Whatever it is, use your words. That is the only way that anyone will ever know what you are feeling or what you are thinking. I will never let a lie or anything that I present to you go out without me telling you to love. That is so relaxing when I do that. Love yourself. This includes your faults, your fears, and your failures. Love yourself despite of all of that, because you only get one you. People always be like, oh, you only get one mother, you only get one father. You only get one you. And the greatest love, I'm going to say this. I'm going to come a little closer. The greatest love you will ever receive in life is the love you will have for yourself. A lot of people might refute that. Some people say, oh, my kids. But I'm going to say, if you don't have kids, the greatest love you will ever receive is the love that you will have for yourself. Because once you have love for yourself, you will set tons of boundaries. You won't allow people to do anything to disrupt this right here. You won't allow it. Know yourself. Trust yourself. Trust. The hairs that stand up on the back of your neck, the goosebumps you get, that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach or your gut is like what people like to call it, that loud or that small voice, your first mind, whatever it is, trust it because it will not lead you wrong. This is the area in which I am in. I am currently in right now, trusting myself. I have um know that the ideas that I have, everything. I'm telling you, I'm on season 3 of a concert series because I know that this is what's necessary. It's what's needed. It's how you help music artists in 2024. And you probably like, how does a concert series help? Because a lot of artists have no stage presence. They're not getting developed anymore. They don't know how to um, command or have a show. Like put on a show. They don't know how to do that. They know how to jump around and rap it over their beats. They're good at that. But to actually put on a show where they can actually get on a bigger stage, that's my objective, is to help them put on a show where they can take the video footage and take the experience, and when they get called up to the bigger stages, they'll be completely ready to do it. I'm in a space of trusting. I said I wanted to do more public speaking. I've had 2 public speaking gigs in January. I have one on the 23rd. I have interviews, all kinds of stuff going on, and I trusting myself because I know that I am capable of doing it. Like I said, I have everything to be successful. I just have to do it. So I have so many different things that I'm going to be sharing with you, so many experiences I'm going to be taking you along with me so you guys can see it. Because I want to encourage, uplift, inspire, motivate. Having said that, you have survived a global pandemic. I know y'all probably like, she said it one more time. You have survived a global pandemic for 4 years. Whatever it is that you've always wanted to do your entire life, now is a perfect time to do it. If you fail, I can tell you more than these many times that I done failed. But I got back up, and each time I learned something that I didn't know before. And I'm who I am right now because of the failings of my life. It's the failings that help you be better. Because that's when you find the courage, you find the confidence, because, it's like I failed. You failed at a relationship. Just pick yourself up. Don't move too fast. Heal. Uncover the stuff that's, some of the things you just let slide because, you was really in love with that person, but heal. You have survived a global pandemic for 4 years. Anybody that cannot love, respect, or appreciate you for being authentically you does not deserve to be in your space. It is time for you to learn, set, and understand boundaries and stand 10 toes down on them. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, you most definitely should. There are so many different things that you should be in the know about. A lot of things. Not just about who you should vote, not just about Cat Williams or Monique or anybody else. It's like wars. There's like all kinds of things. STD outbreaks, illnesses. There's so many different things we should be mindful of. Having said that, get you some toiletries, non-perishable food items, water, disinfectant. It doesn't have to be Clorox, but get you some different disinfectant wipes. I got these for this studio. I got some for the other parts of my house. I got some that I take with me wherever I go because people don't wash their hands, or they do wash their hands, but they don't use soap. And we got to be mindful. I even started wearing my mask out. I told my mom I need to get some gloves because I'm over it. I don't want to be sick again. I don't want to be sick again. And if you are engaging in adult activities, whether it's poly, single, whatever you are doing, wrap it up. Protect yourself. I just saw that where I live is number 7 on the list of STDs, high rates of STD. Number 7. We beat Miami. And I don't mean to say beat. Like, we are higher than Miami. And I'm not saying if you're watching from Miami, I'm not saying like that. You know what I'm saying? Because people be vacationing. When you go on vacation, sometimes people. Anyways, just wrap it up. That's all I got. Until next time. I love you. I'll be back in a couple of 9:30, I'll say. I plug my drums up, so I'm gonna drum a little bit. We're gonna play some Death by Daylight, Call of Duty Mobile. I'm with y'all. We hanging out for the rest of the night. Until next time, I love you. Peace.